ESBR Boxing, we are back. Myself and Paul Kelly, the dynamic duo. We're back in preview mode, and we're here previewing a fantastic fight. And do you know how and why it's a fantastic fight? British title action, baby. British super middleweight title action, along with the Commonwealth title as well. Callum Simpson versus Zach Chelli, Oakwell Football Ground in Barnsley. Paul, delighted to be joined by you as always. We're going to break this one down. I don't think there's too much really that needs to be said about both fighters. I think they're both obviously well known, especially in British boxing circles. So really, the first thing I want to ask you is just a bit about resume. Zach Chelli, obviously 15-2-1, comes into this fight. Callum Simpson has got a record of 14-0, undefeated fighter. The question I want to ask you, Paul, really is look at their CVs. So you look at Callum Simpson, obviously, is this likes of I suppose names that don't necessarily stand out to British boxing fans potentially, but Boris Crinting's on there. That's a name that I like to always say as well. Zach Chelli, he's actually got, I think, for me, the resume that people may recognise. You've also got Jack Cullen on there. You've got Sims Jr. on there, Jermaine Brown. The question I'm going to ask you really is who has the best CV, Paul? Who has the best record out of these two fighters before they get it on, please?
Yeah, thanks, mate, for that eloquent introduction and breakdown. And yeah, as you said, British title action means one thing. It's going to be a barnstormer. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question, mate, just to kick things off. I think it's fair to say, well, maybe not, but I haven't really looked at the bookies. But I think the general consensus is Callum Simpson is the favourite here. But I think you've kind of alluded to it there, and I kind of agree with you. When you actually look name for name, resume for resume, CV for CV, it's Zach Chelli's CV that impresses me more. Is that because Callum Simpson's just been building this record and hasn't actually, been thrown into, we'll call it a 50-50 fight, so to speak, as of yet? Whereas Zach Chelli's kind of been the other side where he's been in the away corner a few times, and pulled off the upset, so to speak. As you mentioned, Jack Cullen, he's been in there twice with him, a draw and then a victory. Anthony Sims, who a lot of people were touting was maybe going to be one of the next things in America not so long ago. Zach Chelli comprehensively outboxed him. Jermaine Brown as well, another good victory, as you said. So for me, mate, I actually think, when you're looking at comparing resumes, it's Zach Chelli's that impresses me more. And if you hadn't watched either of these fighters, if you're just looking at their CV, Zach Chelli would be the favourite for me. So it's quite an interesting one, mate. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we'll come on, I suppose, to where the sort of bookmakers and that are going and who the favourite should be in this fight. But I do look at Zach Chelli's resume and see, I see a lot of more recognisable names and a lot of probably tougher fights, to be perfectly honest with you, that he's got on that resume. But then equally, I suppose, for miles on the clockwise as well. He's been in a lot of tough fights. He's actually, I think, he's almost had a bit of a stop starting. There was a lot of momentum behind him at some point at different points in his career, and then it's kind of seems to be a bit sort of staggered in the way he's kind of gone about it. I think that loss, obviously, to Mark Jeffers was quite surprising. I think for a lot of people as well, he's building up some good momentum before that. So, I mean, yeah, but I look at those wins. I look at the wins against, like you said, Sims, very, very highly rated at the time, 23-1, I think, when he fought Chelli. So, obviously expected to do the business there and a sort of breakout win. Was a breakout win for British audiences at least. Jermaine Brown also they've got a narrow loss, which is by no means something to criticise over necessarily. But that loss, obviously, Cody Davis was quite a tight. Cody Davis was a good fighter, obviously, at that point as well. So for me, I actually think Zach Chelli's been in with the better names, more recognisable names, obviously, certainly, and obviously just had more fights on his record as well. So potentially a banana skin, I suppose, what you'd say. And we're going to come on to that really because I think a lot of people look at this as a Callum Simpson. That's because I'm talking to you, Paul. Callum Smith is never too far from your lips, but Callum Simpson victory here as maybe being sort of maybe a routine victory for him. So I'm going to ask you really is touching on what we've said there about the CV, the record, the names he's been in with. How do you kind of see this fight? Do you see this as Chelli as being a live banana skin possibly? Do you see it being a sort of 60-40 fight, maybe a 50-50 fight? How are you kind of seeing this against where the bookies and sort of general boxing fans are placing it?
I mean, I think I would be. I mean, as I said, we haven't looked at odds or anything, but I would hazard a guess that Callum Simpson is the favourite, and I can't see why. Um, but at the same time, if you're talking Kelly as an underdog, then yes, this is a potential banana skin 100% for Callum Smith. Jeez, there you go. You made me do it as well, Callum Simpson. Um, yeah, I mean, Zach Chelli is a great fighter. A lot of people have thought Jack Cullen maybe would have beaten him in their rematch last time because obviously Jack Cullen was coming in off that superb win over Mark Heffron as well, but he didn't. Zach Chelli looked sensational, beat him, handily. Another couple of fights you've had Zach Chelli as the underdog, so he's proven that he can win in the away corner. He's like, he's kind of reminds me of Tyler Denny in that sense of, you write him off at your peril, so to speak. So yeah, definitely a huge upset me, on the cards potentially for me. That's not my prediction, obviously, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was to win this fight. Percentage wise, I would probably favor Callum Simpson about 60-40, 65-35. What about you?
Yeah, no, thank you for if all those at home now playing, Paul Kelly bingo, we've got Tyler Denny mentioned, we've had Callum Smith mentioned, we've got Anthony Joshua, then we've got the full house, I reckon, on this one. But I think for me, I make Callum Simpson a slight favourite just because equally it's in Barnsley as well. I think, it's at Stadium, will that play into it? Will he have the sort of crowd behind him? Possibly. But for me, it's actually a real live fight. This so actually a challenging fight. It'd be a good breakout victory for Callum Simpson in some ways if he wins this. It's a real tough test. So we're going to come on now to do our predictions, Paul. And before, well, no, as part of your prediction, obviously we give a prediction, give our sort of knockout, our chance of going points, etc. But I want you to maybe ease in viewers here by saying whether you actually think this fight will go the distance first and foremost before giving a prediction on who you think will win, or if it's going to be a knockout. Just get straight into it, Paul. What are you saying?
Yeah, mate, I think I'm going for points here. I think Callum Simpson's seen as the bigger puncher of the two. Obviously, 10 KOs in his 14 victories. Chelly's just 7 in his 15. I'm favouring this to go the full distance, to be quite honest with you, mate. And I'm gonna go with, I suppose we'll call him the hometown boy, the Barnsley man, winning at Oakwell. I think Callum Simpson will get the job done here. I think it could be competitive, but I think we'll have Callum Simpson as a resounding winner. So, competitive in spells, but no question over who wins. I'm going Callum Simpson, unanimous decision. What about you?
Yeah, we're unanimous here as well, Paul, because I'm going with Callum Simpson points as well. I think that Chelli's not used, but he's lost, but he's not been stopped. I think he's a tough and durable opponent. I think he will challenge him points and will provide I suppose, a tough nut to crack in some ways for Callum Simpson, to use that cliche. But I think whilst Callum Simpson does have power, I don't see him stopping Chelli, but I see him, it's at home, it's in Barnsley, he's a Barnsley man, football stadium fans will be behind him. I see him having too much momentum in a way to lose this fight. I think he'll come through it on points as well. Unanimous decision. Paul, that is sadly all we have time for. We are unanimous, but guys, let us know in the comments whether you agree with this or disagree with us. Again, really, I suppose, who you think has the best resume coming into this fight, whether Chelli should be favourite or whether Callum Simpson should even be favourite. Perhaps even a comment, about who you think both fighters should fight, whether victorious fight next after this fight. Paul, as always, thank you very much for joining me. Check out the channel, like, subscribe, reviews, previews, big fight breakdowns, all that good stuff. Let us know what you think. And Paul, thank you very much for joining me. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.
Cheers, mate. Pleasure as always.